The locals called it the Whispering Canopy, but it didn't whisper, it breathed. Marcus, a seasoned wildlife photographer, knew the rules of the deep jungle. Stay on the trail, never trek after sundown, and never ever mimic the wildlife. But he had been chasing the perfect shot of a rare nocturnal leopard for 3 days. And ambition is a terrible compass. By 8 p.m., the jungle had swallowed the last rays of twilight. The canopy was so thick it choked out the starlight, plunging him into a heavy, suffocating blackness. The air felt thick like exhaled breath. Marcus switched on his headlamp. The beam cut through the humidity, illuminating a labyrinth of twisted vines and massive banyan roots. That was when the ambient noise of the jungle, the deafening chorus of cicadas, frogs, and nightbirds suddenly died. The silence was absolute. And in the jungle, silence means a predator is close. He froze, his heart hammering against his ribs. He panned his headlamp around. Nothing but shifting shadows. Then he heard it. Crunch. It was the sound of a heavy boot pressing into dry leaves, just a few yards behind him. "Hello?" Marcus called out, his voice sounding thin and pathetic in the vast emptiness. "Is someone there?" No answer. Only the dripping of condensation from the leaves above. He took 5 quick steps forward. Behind him, 5 footsteps perfectly mirrored his pace. Crunch, 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 crunch. Panic surged. Marcus broke into a jog. The footsteps behind him broke into a jog. He scrambled over a massive moss-covered root, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He spun around and shone his light directly into the brush. 2 eyes reflected the beam. But they weren't the glowing green or yellow spheres of a leopard. They were dull, milky white, and set horizontally like a human's, only they were spaced too far apart, positioned near the sides of a pale, elongated head that belonged to nothing human. The creature was crouched on all 4s, its limbs impossibly long and segmented like a spider's. It was naked, its skin the color of bloated, waterlogged wood. Marcus screamed, a raw sound of pure terror. And then the creature opened its mouth. It didn't roar. It didn't hiss. "Hello?" It called out. It was Marcus's own voice, perfectly replicated, inflection, terror, and all. "Is someone there?" Marcus stumbled backward, tripping over a vine and dropping his flashlight. It rolled, illuminating the creature as it stood up on its hind legs. Its joints popped and cracked as it stretched to a sickening 8 feet tall. "Hello? Is someone there?" It repeated, its jaw unhinging as it began to sprint toward him, its elongated limbs tearing through the undergrowth with horrifying speed. Marcus scrambled to his feet, abandoning his gear, and ran blind into the dark. Thorns tore at his skin. Branches whipped his face. He could hear it right behind him, the heavy thud of its footsteps accompanied by a chorus of his own voice, overlapping itself in a maddening loop. "Hello? Is someone there? Hello? Is someone there? Hello?" He burst through a wall of ferns and tumbled down a steep, muddy embankment, crashing into a shallow river. The cold water shocked his system. He dragged himself under the roots of a massive mangrove tree, pressing his back against the muddy bank, covering his mouth to muffle his sobbing breaths. Above the embankment, the heavy footsteps stopped. For 10 agonizing minutes, Marcus didn't move. He listened. The silence stretched. Then, slowly, the cicadas started to chirp again. A bullfrog croaked. The jungle was returning to normal. Marcus let out a shaky, silent breath. He had made it. Then, he felt a cold drip on his shoulder. It wasn't water. It was thick, sticky, and smelled faintly of rot. Slowly, Marcus tilted his head upward. In the dark roots right above him, 2 milky white eyes looked down. A pale, distorted face split into a wide, toothless grin. Before Marcus could scream, his own voice whispered back to him from the dark, "Got